Good morning, and I'm Joshua Pearsall with Practical Christian Lessons, and today we are going to be reading Wisdom of Sirach 14, but we are going to have a little bit of announcement first. I will put a little chapter in the video, so if you're not interested in the announcements, you can go straight to the read-through. But if you want to stick around for the announcements, I encourage you to. First one, this is coming out Tuesday, so next week. Last week we published an article on a book I would highly recommend is The 3 Simple Rules, A Wesleyan Way of Living. Of course, I am a Methodist. I'm a Wesleyan Arminian. So I have a bias in some of the things I read, but I like to read broadly, and I've just been looking for some devotionals and devotional type stuff, and this sort of popped up as a recommended. Not very big. It's a very short read. I think if counting collectively, it took me about 2 or less hours to get through this on Sunday. I like to, on my day of rest, I like to just sit and work through a single work. If that's Sunday or Saturday, I like to try and just find something small, take 2 or less hours, whether it's an audiobook or something, and just get through it. And this was one of those just wonderful little books. And I have an article up on it on my blog, which is in the doobly-doo below. You can go and find a link to it. I'd highly recommend it. I give some highlights, and I just highly encourage you guys to go check it out. I did have another announcement. I can't remember what it is. Oh, yes, there will be some change in how we're recording things right now. I will still be trying to do a single recording session day and work through things, and hopefully that'll let me, you guys have possibly seen some of the thumbnails are now being edited more often. I'm making more custom thumbnails, stuff like that. Hopefully this will just let me have time to get forward in the videos, and then with handle the other parts of my life in the rest of the week. And this is just as we're nearing the end of my semester, so we're getting to that point where there might be some times over the next month specifically. I think I have 4 more weeks, maybe 5 more weeks of class. I can't remember off the top of my head. So over the next few weeks, that's in an attempt to do that. But if there's maybe a little less content over the next few weeks, that's also why. Is because we're entering the end of my school semester. So just a heads up on that. There might be some impacts from that on the videos. They will still come out, hopefully, on the same recording schedule. That just means there might not be as much bulk recording going on. And there's a third announcement. At least for the time being, it seems on Saturdays that I'll be making different various little short videos. So just a heads up on that. Next Saturday, I'm probably doing just a little short video. Probably on this book that I just read. I'm probably just going to read through my article. And then I'm also going to do a short little talk through on This We Believe, which I know I've talked about before, but I'll do a little bit more of an in-depth talk through on the book. And maybe some other books will get snuck in there. Who knows? We'll find out by Saturday. That's just where I feel God leading me right now. So just a heads up on those things. Be on the lookout for those things. And enjoy all those things, I hope. Now, we are going to get into Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 14. Blessed is a man who does not slip and fall because of his mouth, and is not stung with pain caused by his sin. Blessed is he whose soul does not condemn him, and he who is not fallen away from his hope. Wealth is not fitting for a small-minded man, and to what end is wealth for an envious man? For he who gathers for himself gathers for others, and others will live in luxury with his good. If a man does evil to himself, for whom shall he do good? And he will not rejoice in his wealth. When a man envies himself, there is no one worse off, and this is the reward for his vice. Even if he does good, he does it unintentionally, and in the end he reveals his vice. He who envies with his eye is evil. He turns away his face and despises souls. The eye of a greedy man is not satisfied with his share, and useless wrongdoings dries up the soul. The evil eye of a man is envious over his bread, thus it is lacking at his table. My son, whatever you have, treat yourself well, and offer sacrifices worthily to the Lord. Remember that death does not delay, and the covenant of Hades has not been shown to you. Before you die, do good to a friend, and reach out and give him based on your ability. Do not let a day go by without doing something good, and do not let any of your desire for doing good escape you. Will you not leave all your hard work to another, and all your hard work to be divided by lot? Give and receive and deprive yourself, because in Hades there is nowhere to seek luxury. All flesh becomes old like a garment, for the covenant from of old is, you shall die by death. Like flourishing leaves on a thick tree, which sheds some leaves and puts forth others, so also is the generation of flesh and blood. One dies and another is born. Every work of man decays and fails, and he who made it will depart with it. Blessed is the man who practices wisdom and discourses with insight. Whoever ponders the ways of wisdom in his heart will also reflect on her secrets. Pursue wisdom like a tracker, and lie in wait on her paths. He who looks intently through her windows will also listen at her doors. He who lodges near her house will also fasten his tent peg to her walls. He will establish his home according to her will, and so lodge in a good dwelling place. He will put his children in her shelter, and lodge under her branches. He will be sheltered by her from the burning heat, and will dwell in her glory. Man, I got some Ecclesiastes vibes from that. Ecclesiastes is one of my favorite books in the Bible. I know I'm a weird guy. Psalm 88 is my favorite psalm, for example. Augustine is actually one of the reasons that one of my favorite psalm. I'll make a video on the Psalms at some point, and we'll cover that. But just go read Psalm 88 and be like, what is wrong with this man? But Ecclesiastes is just one of those books. For me, it's quite refreshing to read. For some reference, I was a full-on nihilist when I was very young. I was a very negative view of the world. But in Ecclesiastes, when I got to it, was one of those books I was like, oh, this is my own mindset. I understand parts of this. Not saying Ecclesiastes is like a book pushing nihilism, because it's not. But I could understand this mindset in ways that maybe some other people can't. And then I saw hope in the book of Ecclesiastes, especially in the end, where it's like, because all these things will fade and they will all turn to dust, focus on God. That is what you should be working for. That is who you should be serving. And I was just like, that is just a lovely breath of fresh air. The end of all this depressing thought of this downcast, downtrodden set of ideas and writings, through which there are good and hopeful things scattered throughout about enjoying the good things in life, the gifts of God. It comes down to serve and worship the Lord. And I'm just like, that is what it's all about right there. Amen. But that's on Ecclesiastes, not this. That's just where my brain went while reading this, because of my relation with Ecclesiastes. And that is how devotional literature works. I also just love the phrase, you shall die by death. I am not a Hebrew expert, but if you go into the Hebrew a little bit in like Genesis, they'll often emphasize words by repeating a word. So like good, like very good in our English is good. It's tov tov. And then when it gets to the pronunciation of death, it is dying, you will surely die. And I'm just like, I would much rather have that as the English translation personally. Maybe it's just a weird thing in me, but I'm like, that sounds way better in my ears than some of the translations that are around. But that's just a little side note and tangent. I hope that was good for you guys. If you skipped to the end of the reading, go back to the announcements if you want to. There's some upcoming plans and possible schedule impacts. It won't affect the Tuesday through Friday. That will still have the normal readings, but it might impact Saturdays if you're here for Saturdays on the readings. So you guys have a wonderful day. God bless, and I'll see you next time.